Okay, here we go. We are recording, and today is January 12th. So I want to welcome everybody to the call, and let's get started. So this is all for you guys. This, your questions are what this is all about. Sometimes I'll have a topic that I open up with that's important, and it might take up a good chunk of time. But if you guys have questions, just go ahead, use the little thing to raise your hand, or if you don't know how to do that, just kind of wave at me and I'll get at you. Randy, there, I see your hand up. Just unmute and come on out. It looks like he's on his phone in trouble. Jeff, maybe I'll take you first while Randy's figuring out his mute.
Thanks, John. Hopefully this will be a quick question. I've been attempting to create an account with ChatGPT.
Okay.
And they blocked my phone number, so I can't get in or use it. Have you run across that? I'm looking for a solution.
I don't know. I know the last couple of days they have been literally overrun where I couldn't even get in. And I already had an account set up, so I don't know if you're having trouble setting up an account. It might be due to the fact that so many people are trying to use that thing at one time now. It's not capable. It's pretty crazy that they've overrun that system.
Yeah, I got an account set up. They won't allow me to access it, and they gave me a message that the phone number has been blocked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. You might just try and set up another account and just use a different. Do you use a phone number versus an email?
No, they won't let me use anything other than a cell phone number to send an SMS confirmation.
Oh,
they've got my email.
That's interesting. I have not seen that. You might contact their support and just ask them, what's up.
and I use, because I have a free email account that I use for things that I'm experimenting with. Okay. So I went back, created an account using my business email address, thinking, well, maybe they're not sure if it's a legit or not. So I use that, still won't do it. And they said, the information I get is the problem is the phone number. And I'm a little bit tentative to go out and spend like $1,000 for a new phone number just to use a free service.
Yeah, no, so absolutely.
I was just curious if that's come up or if there's some kind of,
if
there's a known issue if they won't use certain, they won't send to certain blocks of phone numbers.
Yeah, no, I have not seen that yet. You might contact their support.
Are they running a social credit score where they'll look at it and go, no, not you, because we don't like something?
Anything is possible. Anything is definitely possible. Right, but I can tell you, like, from my personal usage on that over the last couple of days, I was on trying to use it a few times. And most of the time I was trying to use it in the last, say, 48 hours, it was not letting me through because the system was overwhelmed. That's the message came up, and it was cool because it still output something for you. Like it would output a poem about being overwhelmed. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, this was last week, and then I did stop wasting time on it after the weekend, but starting last Thursday, right after our session through the weekend. If I could, another quick question: what's the difference between a tool like Jasper and the other tool we were looking at last week, the marketing, whatever it was?
Okay, yeah, the marketing blocks.
Marketing blocks, yes, thank you.
Yeah, most all of the tools that have to do with AI these days are using the API, the back end of this OpenAI chat. It's actually, chat is a window that they made themselves for us to be able to use. And I don't know why they put it out as a free thing. I think they're doing this as a test to see how many people will actually use it. And then they'll probably convert it into some sort of a paid service. But they do, like Jasper, for instance, they just put a different front end on it, but they're using the same thing. They're using that OpenAI technology. They just purchased an API to run it, to fuel it. So most of these companies are not creating their own AI on the back end. There's this one big jumbo data source, and it was originally called Da Vinci. This was the thing that Elon Musk was involved in. He stepped out of the way, I believe, in like 2018, and the project kept going, and it was funded by Microsoft. After Elon stepped out of the way, Microsoft, I heard they pumped over $1 billion into this project. And it's an awesome project. One of the things that it really was meant for was for robotics. It was meant to put intelligence to robotics, and for the autonomous cars and all kinds of robotic functionality that, unfortunately, as much as none of us like it, it's going to be part of our future. It's coming. There's no way to stop it. So from a marketing standpoint, it's a great tool for us. Like I showed the other day on one of the calls, how you could use this thing to ask questions. Like one of the things in our analysis process is we need to figure out who our avatar is, what's important to them, all the stuff, like what are they feeling? What are their dreams? What do they want? Why do they want it? And it was amazing using the tool to ask those questions, and it knew our audience. It already knew our avatar. So it was a really cool way to answer those questions. In the ad world, they would spend a lot of money putting focus groups together and interviewing people to gather that data. And now for us, how cool is it to just have that at our fingertips? The thing is, like, I think there's going to be a new position that's created. A lot of jobs are going to be gone. All the stuff in the future, it's going to take a lot of jobs. Just like, outsourcing took a lot of jobs. This is going to do the same thing. Like copywriters, you're not going to really need a copywriter. You're going to need a copy editor. But the one job that I think is going to be like a really high paying job in the future is a prompt engineer. And that's somebody that's engineering the questions. Like for any of you that watched me work with that tool, you saw the way I was asking the questions and the sequence that I was asking them. That's really important. It's just like, the better questions you ask, the better answers you'll get. And it's just like copy. When you're doing copywriting, if you hire a copywriter, you're going to give them information. And if you give them bad information, you're going to get bad copy back. They're not going to do the work for you. They're not going to do your research. They're going to take what you give them and they're going to write copy based around that. So with the Chat AI program, you can ask those questions and you can do it in a sequence. Like I would ask, I think I used the example of a massage therapist. I said, what are the benefits of massage therapy? And it gave me a list of all the benefits. And then I asked it, what are some reasons why people might object to this? And then it gave me all the reasons why they would object to it. And then I asked it, based on the benefits, what does somebody get out of that? And it was compiling the data. And then after I had asked it probably 4 or 5 questions, I said, based on this information, write me a sales letter. And it took all the information from the questions that I had just asked, and it crafted a beautiful sales letter. And then I said, add the common slang to it. And now it took it took something that was kind of robotic. I mean, it was good, but it was kind of robotic. But now it humanized it. It added the slang like you and I talk. And then I said, add some humor to the end. And then add a sense of urgency. And every time I asked it for something, it just rewrote it like on the fly instantly. It was like, holy mackerel. It would have taken me all day to do that, and I probably wouldn't have done it as well. Now, not to say that I couldn't improve upon it. I mean, I've got to think that I'm going to be smarter than a robot, right? but that robot can do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. So think about it as a draft. So this thing is working hard to give you a perfect draft that you can take and you can edit and you can make it your own. So I don't know about you guys, but I have trouble writing copy from a blank page. It's just like overwhelming. For some reason, it just makes me want to go take a nap. So for you to hand me, like I tell everybody, I go, you know, I have a higher level program where I work with people one-on-one, and I tell them, I said, I'm working with you. I'm not doing it for you. Like I will fix your copy. I'm not going to write your copy for you. But if you give it to me, I'll go through, I'll edit it, I'll make it, you know, I'll put my touch on it for you. But I'm not writing it from the blank page. I don't want to work that hard. So anyway, it's pretty cool stuff. And that OpenAI chat program, right now it's free. I would highly recommend that you take advantage of it. If you didn't see the video that we did from last week, I think it was last week that we did that. It's pretty cool. It's worthwhile. You should probably go back and watch that. All right, Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, I found the right button, I think. Can you hear me?
Yep, cool.
Awesome. So I got 2 Kartra landing page questions. One you already know about, and I think the second question is a follow-on to that. Okay, so I put together a landing page for a masterclass that starts next week, and all of a sudden, people who signed up are getting some strange follow-on emails. One of them was titled, "I'm spying on you." And when my potential client got that, it freaked her out because it said, "I'm spying on you." And then it talked about the fact that they hadn't signed up for the masterclass, et cetera, et cetera. And it freaked me out when she sent me the copy.
Okay.
And I think your answer was maybe I added a sequence, but I've never added a follow-up sequence to any landing page that I've ever done. The only thing I've ever done is customize one of the standard landing pages, and then in there where you can maybe add a link and write a thank you note or write some letter, but I've never titled anything "I'm spying on you," and I don't know how these kinds of sequences are getting inside my landing page.
Okay, well, Kartra, for one, is loaded with templates. And some of the templates have additional things attached to them. Like if you use a template, let's say for a landing page, it may have attached to it follow-up sequences. And
so how do we find that?
That particular one, that "I'm spying on you," that's a very common thing in the marketing world. It's like an attention grabber. If your emails are not, if your emails are not getting opened up, an attention grabber might be just what you need to like get them to open the email. So it's used a lot in the case of somebody goes through your marketing sequence, they go to your checkout page and then they abandon the cart. So you know that person was really engaged, yet they didn't make the purchase. So you keep following up, and a lot of times, 6 or 7 down the road, when they still haven't opened it, then you start hitting them with weird stuff like that, like "I'm spying on you."
Well, that's kind of
like, "What?"
Scary. That's kind of scary, and that can scare your client away.
Correct. It's a marketing tactic. It's an aggressive thing. It came from Frank Kern. He's one of the ones.
So I guess the question is, it's already out there. I've had a couple calls on it. How do I guess I can't get rid of it if it's embedded in there. So how do you know if you open up a landing page that's already in Kartra and you modify it? How do you find out if it's already got a predetermined sequence?
Well, it probably wouldn't be straight from a landing page, but there's a template section in there where you can import campaigns. That's where I would suspect it came from.
Okay, so here's the crazy thing. That's not what I did. I've never imported a template. So far, I've only used the ones that are coming from Kartra with Kartra.
Okay.
This is the first time it's ever happened, so it's freaking me out.
Well, where you would find that, if it is a sequence that somehow got imported and attached, it's going to be under the communications tab. And then there's a button on the top of that called sequences. So
Okay.
you want to look in there and see if there's something in there that's running that you didn't know about.
Okay, because what I did was I immediately thought it was something old, and I you know how you can go with all your past landing pages that are there that you've used. I just started putting them all on hold because I didn't know what was going on, even though they're not active.
Yeah, an email that's coming after the fact is coming from a sequence. There's no other place in Kartra where an email would just automatically go out.
Okay, and the one I sent you, the copy, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know, that I don't know if I like that, because that doesn't even sound like me.
Yeah, it's definitely not my style, but I can tell you it's a common one. Like when I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. That's why I think it came from a template somewhere.
Okay, well, when I get home, I gotta look at that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tom, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
So based on your previous comments about AI, when is Skynet going to become self-aware? You don't need to answer that. I'm just kidding.
I think we're closer than you might think.
I have a question about, I've read and heard from different sources the idea of pre-selling a product, for example, an online course, and it could be any number. I'm not getting the philosophy of that because I think about that and I think it's hard enough to sell something that does exist. How hard can it be to sell something that does not exist?
Okay.
I want to know what your philosophy on pre-selling a product is.
I can tell you, for me personally, I wouldn't do it any other way. I have never created a product in hopes that I could sell it. I always sell it first, and if I can't sell it, there's no reason for me to create it.
What do you tell the customer when you have to tell them that okay, thanks for buying this, but you can't have it for 6 months?
They don't have any problem with that, as long as you're honest with them. That's the key. If you're honest with them and they want it, they'll wait for it. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. The first time I ever did this, it was really interesting, and it was kind of scary, but I did it anyway. And I was so glad that I did, because since then I haven't done anything but. And at the time, I was doing a lot of high-end SEO work for big companies, and I was charging a lot of money. These were big companies, they had deep pockets, and I was making a lot of money from them.
What's SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization. So it's like getting their site to the top of Google so they can get all this free traffic and make a boatload of sales. Search engine traffic, for those of you that don't know, if somebody knows about your product or service and they're actively searching for it, it's the best traffic on the planet. It's the most high converting because it's in sequence. It's like somebody is looking, they're actively looking for what you have, and that's the best place where you can show up in front of them. All other forms of advertising are disruptive. They're not looking for you. They're not actively seeking what you've got, and you're trying to grab their attention and derail them from what they're doing and get them going your direction. So that's disruptive advertising. In flow is where they're actively looking. It's like somebody in the real world, this would be like somebody walking into a store or walking onto a car lot. You have a pretty good idea if they walk onto a car lot, they're looking to purchase a car, right? That's in flow. You know their intent. Their intent is they're here to buy a car. So the same thing with search. So anyway, that was my primary business back then. And we're going back, like 15 years ago. And I was really good at that, and probably still am, but that's beside the point. But I got an opportunity to speak to a group of women entrepreneurs that were specifically photographers, in Orange County. And they knew me because I used to be a commercial photographer. I was a high-end commercial photographer before I got into the internet. That's where I got to learn from all these ad agencies, how all the marketing stuff works. I sat in their boardrooms. But long and short of it was I had this opportunity to speak to these women about SEO, how to get customers from search engines. And I knew that they weren't going to be able to afford my services. So I was kind of torn of, you know, this is going to be not good. They're going to want this and they're not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be a big tease. It's not going to do me any good. And it's certainly not going to do them any good. So I was thinking about, like, you know, what can I do? How can I help these women? And like the day before I was set to go speak to them, I told my wife, I go, I figured it out. I know what I'm going to do. And she's like, what? And I said, I'm going to show them how to do this themselves. And I'm going to offer them a training program, walk them through it, and let them do it for themselves. I know they can all do it. They just don't, they need to know what to do. So I'm just going to sell them a course. And she looked at me like really funny. And she goes, you don't have a course. And I said, that's right. I'm not going to make one either unless they buy it. So here I showed up, I gave them the presentation, and I was right on the money. They all wanted it. When they saw the way that that worked, they wanted it, and they wanted it bad. And I told them, you know, what my pricing level was. And I said, this just doesn't work for your business model, but here's what I can do. I said, I can build a training course for you guys. And I'm telling you right now, it doesn't exist, but I can build it for you. I'm willing to do that. I said, anybody that is interested in that, I would charge $295. And, you know, give me a show of hands for how many of you. And about 60% of the room raised their hand. And then I was like, oh shit, now I got to do this thing. So I had order forms waiting in the back. Barb starts taking orders, and I walked out of there with like 40 orders for $297. And I told them, here's the way it's going to work. I don't have this thing yet. I'm building it for you. It's going to be in 8 parts. There's 8 things that you need to do that I'm going to show you how to do. So it's going to be over an 8-week span. And I gave myself like a month before I had to deliver. And I gave them a date. It was a Monday. I said, on this Monday, I'm going to deliver you the first video lesson. And then on Friday, the following Friday, we're going to do a conference call. Back then, there was no Zoom. It was like free conferencing. So I said, we're going to do a conference call, and I'm going to answer all your questions. I'm going to get you up to speed on that first thing. And then the following Monday, I'm going to deliver the second module. And then the following Friday, we're going to do another conference call, and I'm going to answer all your questions on that. And we're going to do this for 8 weeks. So I described what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And I was just completely honest with them. They had no problem waiting the month to start. And the thing that also about that, in working with these women, we got to the end, we got to the 8th week, and the Friday call, they were literally freaking out. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm like, I will stay on this call as long as it takes. I will answer all of your questions. I don't know what the freak out is all about. You know, don't worry. I'm not going to leave you stranded. I'll answer anything you need to know. And it came out that they were freaked out about what were they going to do the following week when I was gone. And this is where I got the whole thing. How would you like to take me home with you? I said, you know, would you guys want me to continue this call? And they said, absolutely. And I asked them, I said, you know, what would that be worth? And, you know, they weren't throwing any numbers out. And I said, would it be worth $30? You know, if I continued the call for $30, how many people would want to do that? And they all said, we would all do it. So that's where the $29 came from. And that was back prior to like 2010. And this call that you are on is an extension of that. This has been going on for over a decade. Do you guys have any idea how much money I've collected $30 at a time over the last 10 years? There's been at particular times I've never broken the 1,000 barrier, but I've been really close. There's been times where I had almost 1,000 people in this membership. Not inside Alignable. The Alignable thing is new. We're doing this as a test with Alignable to extend what I've been doing over to their audience. So I think when Alignable cuts this loose through their whole community, there's 7 million members in Alignable. And if I get a small, tiny fraction of them, I'll be well beyond the 1,000 mark.
John, can I ask you on a question what you're understanding real quick?
Sure.
I don't know what the question is, but my light bulb is just exploding. As a teacher, what you're describing, I was a teacher. As a teacher, you call that scaffolding. You know those scaffolding they clean windows with?
Yeah.
They up those. So as a teacher, they call that scaffolding, where you start with the basement and then you add on to that and add on to the second floor, third floor. I don't know whatever you're saying on a sales business thing. It's my life. I don't know what the question is, but it's like, oh my God, this is a huge light bulb.
Yeah, absolutely. And the part about it, the real thing of how this ties into the ACT program is listening to your audience. They will tell you what they want. When I get into the product creation portion of the ACT training, I talk about how you can identify what your next product is going to be. Like for me, the first one was the 8-week course. And then like what you say, the scaffolding of that was the extension of the calls. It was that whole idea of take me home with you. And that there's something gimmicky about it. Everybody loves that. They love the idea of being able to take me home with them. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but that, like when I speak on stage or something, and I throw that out, it's an attention grabber. It's like they've never heard that before. They've heard, coaching programs, and they've heard, all the normal stuff. And that's where I'm going to talk about big idea a little bit today. And the two examples that I'm going to go through are good examples of big idea, which is attention grabber. So I think I got completely off the rails. So let me go back to Tom and see if did I answer your question at all?
Well, sort of. There's a second part to my question. I just launched a membership site, and to keep it simple, it has 2 parts to it. And I did not do any pre-selling at all. So what am I supposed to do at this point, since I've already launched it?
At this point, you're in the boat where 99% of people are. You've created something. Now you have to look at, did you create it for the right marketplace? Is there a market that's going to want it and buy it? And that's like, you have to look at the segmentation, the profitability. That's in the very first piece of the ACT program when you're trying to create your avatar. If you've done that, if the market exists and you're on target and you've created the right thing, now it comes down to the creation of the messaging. How do you convey the value of this to get somebody to want it? And a lot of you guys were on the call yesterday with the create, demand, and desire. That's the creation of that messaging. How do you convey your value? Everybody has to do this. I don't care what you're doing, what you're selling, it all works the same. I know we all want to think that we're different and our things are different, but when it comes to the marketing, it all is very, very similar. There is a line from A to Z, and it doesn't go outside the lines. So if you've done that, let's say you've got your market, you've created a product they're going to want, you've conveyed the messaging, you're going to be able to create the demand and desire. Now you come to the T part of ACT, the traffic. It's getting that messaging in front of the right eyeballs. To know what the right eyeballs are, you go back to the analysis and who is it that this was built for? Who's the messaging built for? Those are the eyeballs you need to bring it in front of. That's where advertising comes in. That's where marketing moves from marketing to advertising. Advertising is where you actually show the messaging to the market. And you can do that through paid sources. You can do that through social media, but you have to be in the right place at the right time. Like if your audience isn't on Facebook and you're overplaying on Facebook trying to get people interested, you're barking up the wrong tree. If your audience is actively searching and you're not showing up in search engines or doing paid search, you're not in the right place at the right time. So if you're doing things out of order, out of sequence, things that don't make sense, you're going to struggle. So the problem is not that you created the product ahead of time. I just personally would never do that because I'm just too lazy for that. That's a personal problem on my end. But that's where you're always going to find your problem in your business marketing part in one of three buckets. Either you didn't identify and truly know your audience, or you didn't create the messaging that conveys the value, or you didn't get it in front of them. Always going to be in one of those three areas. Like when I do business consulting, I will find the problems in one of those three buckets. If it's outside of that, it's personnel, and I'm like, I can't help you there. That's human issues. I can't deal with that. But the marketing always comes down to that. It's almost like science. It's like you can't change the math equation. So I hate to be the bearer of that bad news.
I have other questions, but I want to give other people some a chance to talk too. So.
Okay, let's go to Katie. You're muted out there. Just
there I am.
There you go.
My hand before I muted. Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. I was at your training yesterday. I am super new to Alignable and small business owner.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
You're in the right place.
Yes, I know. I'm like, so I got like I know all these webinars, and I guess I am looking for like a good starting point. I kind of got zoned in probably about a year ago. I mean, I built my own webpage. I mean, I'm a commercial artist. I'm not any of these things, so I'm learning all of this stuff, as I go. And I remember seeing SEO, that this was a big deal. I had to do it. And I go through GoDaddy, and they were sending out these different blogs and things, and I'm thinking, yeah, I know this, and I read it, and I think I have no idea what I'm doing, and I kind of just went on my way. We, mostly survived by word of mouth, social media, that kind of stuff. And now that I'm on here and I'm like in our area, I think we're a really strong studio, like we're really well known. But when I'm looking at, like, I mean, we have competitors, of course, but like now when I'm looking at my searches, I'm not coming up on anything. So yeah. I'm going through and like revamping my Google page, syncing things, and then I watched your webinar, and it's like these big ideas. I've got 1,000 big ideas.
That's awesome.
I get super excited about them, and it's like, man, we're doing it, and I'm thinking, okay, Kate, like roll it back, because I think with like all these ideas, and I know what we can offer, and I'm super confident about it. But like you're saying, if I'm not showing up in things, or I'm missing that, I'm missing all this, and I'm doing all this work, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you one thing. When you're talking about search engine optimization, or you're talking about advertising, you're talking about anything in the traffic sector of the ACT program, it's always the last thing that you want to do. Because if you don't have the first two pieces in place, if you don't know who you're talking to, and you don't know how to convey your value, and you go into that traffic mode, it's going to be really expensive, because you're going to be, any kind of traffic, it's going to cost you. SEO, they say, is free. that's a farce. It's costing you your time at the very minimum, and that's not free. So you've got costs involved in driving traffic, no matter if it's free traffic or paid traffic or social media traffic. There is a cost involved there. And if you're not converting, you can drive 1 million people to a landing page that doesn't convert. That's not going to make you any money. And that's where I say it's just going to be really expensive. You don't want expensive traffic. You want cheap traffic. And if you can get your messaging to convert, then you can actually afford to spend the money to pay for getting that traffic, because you know you're going to make money from it. So it's starting at the beginning in this is so important. I cannot stress that enough, that you start with your market, figure out who you're talking to, figure out what they want, why they want it, and then create the right messaging around that to create the demand and desire. And I can tell you this is a skill that none of us have. We're not born with the skill. It's communication. We learn it as we're growing up. We learn it in school on how to communicate, how to get by in the real world. But in marketing, we learn it in a way that conveys information to change decisions. It's a little bit different. It's a little more advanced technique of communication. This is something that you can learn just like you learn to read and write and talk and function in society. When you learn this skill set, I guarantee you, this is going to be the most valuable thing that you ever put in your tool belt. You will be able to look at anything, any business opportunity, any sales opportunity, and you'll know how to move the needle. So this is a really valuable thing to learn, to hone, to focus on. It really is. It's not like, you just create a marketing campaign and then it's gone and you forget about it. It's not a one and done. This is a way of life. If you're going to be a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you want to be successful, you're going to need to know how to communicate. This road is littered with brilliant inventors that die broke because they never figure out how to communicate. The same thing with artists. There is some of the most talented artists, most brilliant inventors on the planet that are going to die broke because either they don't find someone that knows how to bring them to market, or they don't learn how to do it themselves. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I have gone through the amount of businesses that I've been in since I was, a preteen would shock you. And I've been able to move from one to the next from the communication of the value of what I can do for them. It's not about me. I'd never come out and start talking about myself and my accolades and, how I just don't do that. If I tell a story about me having done something, it's for a purpose. It's not for just the look at me factor, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about me. All they care about is what I can do for them. And it's the same thing. Nobody cares about your products. No one cares about your services. They only care about their desired outcome. And when you can attach your product or your service that is the unique delivery mechanism that delivers that result, then they're going to care. So you need to be in the business of making people care. And that's in communication. That is marketing. If you get good at that, you'll never have to do sales in your life, and you'll get all the customers you'll ever want. So this is the most important thing as a business owner that you're ever going to master. And I've painstakingly gone through the process of putting the formula together for you so you can easily learn it and understand the process. Most people look at an ad agency and just have no idea how they're getting the results. I was able to look at it because I was so immersed in it and figure out, oh, okay, they did this because it does that. I love to know how stuff works. I don't take stuff for granted. I'm like, oh, that was really cool. How did that work? Why did that work? Why did that result come out of doing that? That's the stuff that, you know, that I'm made of, that I get into, and putting that into a process so someone else can get that value is what the ACT program is. I unraveled their mystery and put it down in a linear format so anybody could follow it. So if you haven't gone through, I know there's a lot of people with me that have been with me for years that have still never gone through the videos. As ridiculous as that sounds, you know, and it's great to get on the calls. I can give you guys a ton of information on the calls. I can answer anything you want to know, but there's an underlying process that is in the ACT program that if you don't go through that and you don't master that, your question is just like the questions that we ask AI. The better questions you ask, the better answers you're going to get. So if you go through there, then you're going to know what questions to really ask. Don't get me wrong. Being on these calls is great. If you don't know what to ask, let other people ask the questions and learn from it. It's a great place for that.
You gave me a perfect starting point.
Awesome.
Your program.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, go through it. It's golden. All right, Joe.
Hi there. I just want to go back to when you first started and ask, so that program you're talking about, the AI, is that what it was?
It's
Where do you
open.
find-
It's openai.com is the website URL for the, and then once you sign up for an account, it's openai openai.com/chat is where you actually get the chat robot that we've been talking about. They call it ChatGPT. A lot of buzz in the marketplace about it right now. So much that it's crashing the system. Sometimes you won't be able to get it to work because it's overloaded.
Okay. So it's worth looking at, and it's free for the time being, and
yeah,
it's easy to figure out how to use it.
Very easy. It's just a chat window. You just ask it a question and hit go. And it'll keep track of all your questions. It opens like a chat box in the side where it keeps the history. And that's like a project. So as you're asking it, the more you ask it, the more it learns. It truly is an intelligent being. It's gathering the information and compiling based on your questions.
Cool.
And then if you want to open a new one, you can open a new chat, and now you've got basically a new project. So if you're going to do that, let's say you're going to ask it about 3 different companies that have 3 different avatars, 3 different angles. Don't do it all in one chat. Break it up into 3 so it learns based on the one thing. You don't want to mix them.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Paige, go ahead.
I just want to go back to what you were talking about, course creation, really, really quick.
Okay.
3 years ago, I had the luck of being bumped into somebody, and they asked me if I would do communication courses, public speaking communication courses. And I said yes, and I had 0 courses created. 0 courses created. I had no idea. I had all this knowledge. I didn't even know how to put it together.
Yeah.
But somebody told me it's like jumping off a cliff and praying that the parachute will open when you do this.
That's
and today, but I do have a question in this, but today I've got 12 courses and 3 more on the way. So one thing that I learned of value in doing this, and it is scary when you first start doing it, is if I had created the courses prior to saying yes, the value of the courses would be diminished by more than half. Because what I learned by creating in real time is what the people that were paying valuable money for the courses really needed. Not even what they were looking for, but what they really needed from me. And so my question to you is, when you did your course, real-time course creations, are you finding that same thing? Is that in doing real-time course creations, it actually puts more value on the course because you're finding out information from those clients that are paying you? You're going, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that should be in the course. Oh, how am I going to put that in the course?
Absolutely.
And that was something I didn't hear you say. So I just want to
So what I didn't learn it on the first one. The SEO, when I was teaching the SEO to the women, it was a very set, defined thing. Like if they did the thing, it was going to work for them. So I didn't really learn that lesson that you're specifically addressing there. But where I did learn it was when I created the ACT program. I did a live event. The first time I sold it as a live event because I hadn't created the training materials yet. It was going to be created out of the live event. So I sold the live event. I had 64 people that I sold the live event to. So 64 live bodies in a room, and I'm going to teach them this thing for the first time. I had it all outlined. I knew exactly what I was going to do, how I was going to do it, but it had never been recorded. It had never been documented, all that. This was the first thing. As I delivered the content, that I thought it was spectacular. And I could see the light bulbs go on in everybody's eyes. And everybody in that room, those 64 people, and every one of them knew they needed to change their business model, not only to survive, but if they wanted to thrive. And that to me felt really, really good. I thought I had knocked it out of the park. But as they left, my intent was, okay, I want to check in with them like 3 months down the road because I need some good testimonials to really take this thing to market. And as I checked in with them, not one of the 64 had done anything. They did nothing. And I felt like a failure. And so much that I was like, I really needed to know where I went wrong. So I put out to the whole group, the 64 people, I said, look, I need 6 of you to volunteer that I can work with you for up to a year to implement this so you can get the result, because I need to know what it was that was missing for you to be able to do this. And I got 12 of them that just about knocked my door down to be part of that program. So I took all 12 and I worked with 12. And Sue, a lot of you guys know Sue Brooks. She was one of the 12.
Wow.
I worked with Sue and the other 11 for a year for them to drag out of me what it was that I knew that they didn't know. I didn't realize how much layered skill set I had throughout all the years, and I was expecting everyone else to have. I was telling them how to do things that they didn't have the core base knowledge of how to even start. So that is where the program that is today came from. It's all the stuff that and that's why I say you don't need any skill set to go through this program. You don't need any technical skills or any formal education on marketing. It's a base level program that anyone could go through. It's broken down to that level. And that's what those 12 people drug out of me. And it was painful on my part.
Well, I mean, 2 things is that they don't know what they don't know. So they don't even know the questions to ask. I mean, they don't even have the material to be able to Google a question. They have to go to the library and crawl along the shelves and pull books out. That's what we're there for. But the other thing that I learned is when we know something so well, like you mentioned, we forget what our journey was. And the things that we take for granted, they need. And we forget that what we take for granted. So we're not starting at the beginning. And that's I think that was a valuable lesson creating all these courses did for me. And as I still edit, when I create a course, I go back and edit it. Every time I teach it, it's edited again. So it's not like final. That's another really, I think, I don't know if you do, but key point. They taught me I wasn't going back to their beginning. I was going back to where I thought I remembered. And then again, constant editing as new people come in, because all of our brains are wired differently. And so even the communication of what we know needs to be tweaked. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's in my courses that I will say in multiple different ways on the weekly calls. So the people that when they go through the course, if they didn't hear it the way I said it, I'll say it a different way so they can get it too. And that's the beauty of this ongoing call, is it literally supports everyone. I don't have to say it 10 different ways on the training. I can say it 10 different ways here if I need to get it through. So it's very,
Thank you.
very flexible. All right, Rashid.
Well, I have a kind of a weird situation. I'm trying to do two things along the same line and need your help.
Okay.
What I'm currently doing is I am marketing a place. I call it a play shop. It's a workshop. Nobody wants to work, but people are willing to play. So it's a play shop designed to help people excavate their inner desires to know what they really want out of life, because it's been buried down by the societal expectations of what success is supposed to be, and they're not happy being successful. That's my market.
Okay.
And because of my networking and what I have been talking about the networking, I'm pulling a few people who are interested in the idea. But the course, I kind of did an outline and did a mind map, and it seemed like, well, this is not coming together. So what I'm planning on doing is maybe have some points, and then as people sign up, send out questionnaires saying, what is it that you really want? And so I'm going to do this workshop in about 6 weeks.
Okay.
I'm planning on doing two, one the end of February, one beginning of April. And I've got some people who are kind of influencer and these are live, not online, they're in person. And I'm in Houston, and I've known several influencers in that market or in that field, who would be able to get my message out and say, hey, Rashid is doing that. You might want to consider it. And I'm looking at it, even if I break even with these two, which I know I'm not, I'll do better than that. But
what's your question?
So the question is, once I've done this, how do I create an avatar? My intention is to create an online course based on what I learned from these two workshops.
Okay.
And so how do I define my avatar so that I can, once I have a little something to work with,
Sure.
How do I communicate what I have learned, and how
one thing about the avatar, when you're developing an avatar, sometimes it's cut and dry and sometimes it's not. Like for instance, if you're selling a cure for a headache, for instance, it's not necessarily an avatar. The headache, the symptom actually becomes the avatar. So I think in your case, your avatar might be somebody that is dissatisfied with their current life.
Correct.
So it could be literally any demographic value could fit into that box.
Right. That's the challenge.
Yeah. So you might be trying to stuff your avatar into finding the person when it really isn't a person. It's a symptom of a problem.
Okay.
So that might make it easier for you, to kind of get your head wrapped around of who your avatar is. Your avatar might not fit like an age bracket, or it might. You might find that the person with this problem is typically in their 50s and above.
Right. The second half of their life is how I define.
So the more that you can define about who your person is that has the problem that you're going to solve, that's going to be your avatar. And if you segment it, maybe you segment it right down the middle and say it's women and men. So you have two base avatars.
Okay.
Because women and men always have a different communication pattern.
Right.
They have underlying things that are different about what they want and why they want them.
What I have learned from my experience is it's majority of them are women.
Okay.
That's that's what I have found. I've been playing in this field for 10 years with other people and helping them put seminars together and things like that.
Yeah,
So
so your key is going to be figuring out of this group of women why they're going to want to solve the problem. First, you have to define the problem of what it
right,
really is, what it's going to look like when they solve it. Like, what's the transformation going to be, and why do they want that? What's it literally going to do for them?
okay.
And then
What's
you
the
can then you just
transformation?
bring that messaging in front of them, and you should do very well with that.
Okay, what's the transformation? Okay.
Mhm. It's like, that's the timeline exercise. It's like where they are, where they want to be, what that looks like when they get there.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I've started your course. Now, the other quick question was that I haven't signed up for Cardra, and I'm trying to. I'm not tech oriented. Would it be? Is it simple and easy enough to where someone who's tech challenge can do it, or
Yes.
do I need to hire somebody to do it?
No, Kartra is a very simple program. It can be overwhelming if you've never done it before, because there's so many different things to learn. I actually created a training for Kartra. For any of you that don't know, Kartra is an automation program that once you create your marketing message, it's a way to automate the delivery of it to markets. So it's an automation program for building online funnels, which a funnel is nothing more than a marketing campaign, or a sales presentation. So yeah, I actually have a training I can get you into that'll walk you step by step how to set it up for your company.
Okay, so Kartra does not create the actual content.
No, Kartra is a software program. It's a delivery system for your content. It's not a content creation process.
Okay, so
it's like the nuts and bolts. It's like a phone. The phone doesn't create the conversation. It just delivers.
Right. Okay.
It's a tool.
So where would I go if I wanted to create one, as far as what's the best way to create?
What I'll do, like maybe next week, I'll do an intro for everybody just to kind of show you what Kartra is and how it works. It's a phenomenal program. It's probably too early for most people that are just starting.
Right.
But just to know that exists and how it works it'll be worth me going through that. So I'll do that probably next week for you.
Okay. So what's a good program that help you create content?
That chat, OpenAI chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great start for content.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Woody.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me, John?
Yep. Coming through loud and clear.
I hope you're all having a good year so far.
I'm having a phenomenal year. And
so
it's just getting started.
First of all, are there any I paid for ACT and I printed the manual and I go through it. But companion CDs. So did we get those too? Like that you could watch that and then
those are all online. All the videos are online. So there's a file you can literally download the whole program, and then you've got them on your desktop, so you can just click through the videos. And the videos really is where all the training lives. That's where all the instruction is. That's the course itself. The manual is really just a fill in the blanks thing as you go through the process. It's like a place for you to keep your notes. So when you get to copywriting, it's like you can look at your manual and say, oh, wow, here is all the information I need to create the communication.
Okay, it's a masterful program and it is a great primer. I mean, you save a lot of money. Like right now, I'm getting ready to do something and I'm talking to the artist and I go, until market research is done, I'm not spending a dime on art.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
And you know, but I mean, first we got, I figured out the art. No.
Yeah, no, it's natural. We all want to jump into the creation process. We love to create, but we don't want to do the work that makes the creation actually turn into a successful business. We don't want to do the dull, boring part.
Well, and thank you for comparing it to teaching for us to think like advertising agencies, you know, given that formula.
Yeah, and it's the only reason I do that is because it's proven. It's a proven system that's been working for over 100 years.
It's a good model. So anyway, what I was thinking is a lot of us come to you and say, look, we've got this thing built already. And if you're mindful about it, you'll look at what's needed and then you'll build it so that people feel at home in the course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, get out of the way. That took me a couple of years to understand.
Yeah, some people
Once
it
you get
takes
it,
a
you're
little
there.
longer than others. I know it was a rough one for me. All right, Leslie.
Good morning, John. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Quick question. I do massage and I was thinking, what do you think of this idea? You know, those flyers you see with a picture and I'll use the AI and describe something. And then they have the phone numbers on the bottom you tear off and going to the teacher's lounge and just putting that in the school teacher lounge.
That might be interesting, where you have the phone number and they tear it off, just like rental properties or something. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
I mean, why not put your messaging where your customers are, if those teachers are your customers? But the big idea, the thing that's going to grab their attention, because they're not going to see it. When they pass the bulletin board, they're not going to see it unless they're looking for it. So the idea of a big idea is to get their head turned, to look at something they weren't interested in or they didn't know they were interested in. So if you just put the numbers up there and just, massage therapy, it might work, but it's not going to work like it could work.
How could it work?
The big idea, it could work phenomenally. It could be an average, mediocre result, or it could be phenomenal. And the difference is in how many people it grabs their attention. It's like what David Ogilvy said in the 50s. He was the one that coined the phrase of the big idea and how that works. And he said that any ad campaign, doesn't matter what it is, if it doesn't have a big idea attached to it, it's going to pass like a ship in the night, meaning it won't be seen.
Well, am I correct in saying that my big idea is I find people that have minor aches and pains to eliminate or lessen them?
You do, but a big idea is going to grab their attention in a way that you're making a promise. Because what that is, that's just identifying who they are. You have to figure out what they want and why they want it to be able to make an appropriate promise to them.
Like something maybe, let me massage away your kids' issues, your kids' stress from your body.
Yeah, that's going to be, and big ideas never come out of your head. Big ideas come out of the market. Like when you do your analysis and you figure out, what's the problem, you identify it. That's where your best big ideas are going to come from. They're going to come from that analysis piece. So don't try and rack your brain just to come up with something clever. Actually go back to the analysis and figure out, okay, who has the problem? What's the solution? Why do they want it? What's it going to do for them? All that stuff. It'll make it so much easier. to come up with big ideas if you do that?
Well, from experience, I just say back pain, leg pain from standing all day.
Okay. Yeah. If you've got something that works and it's already tried and true, then you might be able to get by with that. But if you come up with a big idea, you will grab more attention. And the more people that you can grab their attention, the more people will consume your messaging and the more you will convert.
So here, hone in on the problem. What is the problem?
The problem and the solution, what it looks like to solve the problem.
Okay.
Like, why is it a problem? Like if somebody has leg pain or let's say they have back pain, what happens if they don't address it? And then what happens if they don't address that? I mean, literally take them to the pit of hell. Tell them, that if you don't address this, this is going to cause you to not be able to function at your job. And then you're going to lose your job. And then you're going to have marital issues. And then you're going to get divorced. Then you're going to be homeless. And then you're going to be living under a bridge, right? Literally take them into the pit of hell. Show them what it's going to be like if they don't fix this problem.
Great, I love it.
Because they might not know. They might not be looking at it like that. They might, oh, that's not a big deal. Well, it is. Let me show you why it is. And then they're like, oh, let's get rid of that.
I think, I don't know if this is the pit of hell, but debilitating surgery could cause debilitating ongoing problems.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the surgery is going to change their life. They're not going to be the same after that. They have an opportunity to sidestep a major disaster.
Okay.
So that's the way, it might be a little dramatic, but that's what marketing is. It's you've got to grab their attention. They're in a mode that you've got to snap them and change their ideas.
Okay, yeah. I always said pain is the body yelling, hello.
Yeah, well, see, that's something that but they don't.
Okay.
So unless you figure out how to communicate with them, you can't help them. If you're
one surgery is going to cost you a year. I've had 4 of them.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The communication here is the key. If you can't figure out how to communicate, nobody's going to get the value of what you do. It could be the best product or service on the planet. And unless you figure out how to communicate it, it doesn't matter. They're either going to go without, or they're going to go with a competitor. They're going to go with the person that can figure out how to communicate the value. And that's sad for the people that have really great stuff that don't go through this process. So, and you might be doing okay. Your business might be doing okay from word of mouth and all that. But what this is all about is how to get new customers. This is really the mechanics behind changing your business and taking it to a whole new level. If that's what you want, this process works. There's no doubt about it. It works. But it's about that communication piece. So very, very important stuff. All right, Janie. Janie you got to unmute there if you're still with us, Janie.
Yes, I'm still with you. Thank you. I appreciate the ACT program and I want to welcome all the newbies from Alignable. And you were talking about caring enough to do our market research. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I have found lots of ways to help people. And I wanted to know if it was all right with you, if you have any caregivers in your group. I have a free ebook that I can offer people, and I can put it in the chat if you're willing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you guys have stuff that will help each other, yeah, feel free to share.
Great. Thanks so much.
No problem whatsoever with that.
This call is always useful.
Well, cool. Thank you. All right. So Helene, I've got your site up. I was going to actually do the review for you. And then one other one. But before we do that, I know you're the last one on here that's got your hand up. Let me just share something with you guys, because I've always not liked sales. It's like, for me, it's just something that was really a thorn in my side. I never liked selling. For some reason, I don't know how that got in my head, but it was a sales trainer that I went to learn about sales from, and he changed my idea about sales. He didn't change my idea about how lazy I am. So marketing still allows me to make sales without doing sales. I always fall back on that. But what he said was, he said, imagine that you have a product that would cure cancer. And he said, there's a little girl that's got cancer and she's going to die. And you could save her. You know, her parents are going to be the one that's going to buy this. So they're really your customer. And if you can't figure out how to convince them that your product is going to save her, she's going to die. How hard are you willing to fight for her to get her what she needs so she can make it through? How hard are you willing to press the issue to get her what she needs? That really changed my outlook on sales. Like, if you have stuff that is really good and can change people's lives, you need to work hard on the messaging so they get it, so you can communicate that. Because otherwise, you're not helping them. You're not serving the people that you're in business to serve. And you're certainly not serving yourself. So at that point, you got to ask, what's the point? So figuring out how to communicate is the most valuable thing you're ever going to do in business. It's not about the products and the services. Anybody can do that. You know, it's about the transfer of it. It's about the transfer of value. You're trading something of value for monetary funds. That's what business is all about. So if you don't want to do that, business probably isn't for you, you know, or you need to find somebody that can run your business, and then you can just be the creator behind the scenes. But somebody needs to communicate that value. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because that really changed my perspective on things. Like that really was what did it for me. Was, yeah, I would go to the end of the earth to save that little girl if I had the cure for her. So that's how important it is. All right, Helene, go ahead. Did you have a question, or you want me to just do your site review?
When you reviewed my site on Monday, I was absolutely blown away. And I think this information has to go to everybody, because it was absolutely the most precious, mind-opening thing I've ever had on a Zoom meeting. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it was all about the lack of a big idea. And let me share the screen. I'll show you guys what we're talking about here. We got on a Zoom call earlier this week, and it was, the whole point of it was to review her site and give my proof on you know, how to improve. So you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I had an error message that popped up, said Zoom's sticking, but looks like it's
what?
Yeah.
I just got that same Zoom quit unexpectedly. Generate a crash report.
Me too. And we're still here. That's the good news.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, John, that happened a couple of times. Anytime you go to share, sometimes Zoom will crash.
I don't think John's on. I think he got kicked off.
No, he's
Back
on.
in a minute.
I did. I came back. I was just muted. All right, let me try this again here. All right. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So anyway, we were reviewing this. I was reviewing the site for her, and I said, okay, the first thing here above the fold, this is the most important part of any web page. When you land on a web page, you should know exactly what is going on here at a glance. It's kind of like in the old days when you open a book or a magazine, the advertisers have a certain amount of seconds before the page gets turned to grab attention. So it's that big idea. And I said, you're lacking a big idea here. It's colorful, it's beautiful, it looks great, but where's the promise? You know, and I said, the other thing about this, I see the you know, relieving pain, that's kind of the promise there. But where's the unique mechanism? Because what I said is it's not believable. That's what I said. And Helene said, well, it is believable. And I said, no, it's not to the person that sees it for the first time, because you haven't given them a reason to believe. And that's what a unique mechanism does in the big idea. The promise is one thing. You can claim, hey, you know, I've got the best this or the best that, but without following it up with anything, it's just a platitude. It's what everybody says. Why would you not say your product is great, right? Everybody says that. So that's a meaningless promise until you connect it to the thing that delivers the result. When you show the thing that delivers the result and you attach it to the product, now your promise has meaning. Now it's believable. So here, there is no unique delivery mechanism other than the product itself, but that's not really telling me why it's going to give me the outcome. So she had mentioned, you know, the active ingredient in it, which is kind of like, you know, I use the example a lot of the diet pill. The diet pill, the promise is take the pill and lose the weight. That's a perfect promise because everybody wants the outcome of weight loss, but they don't want to do dieting and they don't want to work out. You know, they don't want to put in the effort to get the result. They want the thing that's going to do the work to get them the result. That's a unique mechanism. So in the diet pill, since everybody knew, well, you know, that's not believable, right? So an ad campaign came out that had celebrity endorsements, which a celebrity endorsement is kind of believable to begin with because, right, celebrities wouldn't lie to us, right? But to add in, they actually had a unique delivery mechanism. They said, our diet pill has Garcinia Cambogia, and this is what's getting these phenomenal results for these actors and actresses that need to knock off 20 pounds real fast so they can get the movie role. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I see why it works. It's got that thing I've never heard of, right? And that will drive them to purchase it. So that's what a big idea is. It's a combination of three pieces. It's the promise, which alone is not believable, attached to a unique mechanism, which is the thing that actually does the work to get the result. Now it's believable. And then you say it in a unique way that they've never heard it before. So the Garcinia Cambogia, you know, they said it in this unique way of, you know, it's working for actors and actresses that have to knock pounds off so they can get the role in movies, right? No one's had heard that before. They're like, wow, those people are serious. They have to get the result or their careers down the tubes. So if it works for them, it's got to work for me, right? It's not that important that I lose the weight. So connecting it to that and saying it in a way that they haven't heard it before, like for this, for instance, you could use, you know, discovered by somebody that is not a likely candidate, like maybe discovered by a veterinarian or, you know, something that's unique and interesting. That's the third piece, is the interesting, intellectually interesting component to your message. This also, if you guys have probably heard of elevator pitches, right? Your 30-second elevator pitch. If you think in terms of this for your elevator pitch, your results will go through the roof, because you're giving a promise, you're giving a unique mechanism that delivers the promise, which makes it believable, and you're saying it in a way they've never heard it before. All of a sudden, they're going to lean in. They're going to go, tell me more about that. And that's the whole goal of the big idea. Get them to lean in, get them to ask more. The other problem here is this is kind of a buy or die scenario. We're showing them the product and saying, okay, here it is, buy it. You haven't created the demand and desire yet. You haven't educated me into why this is the best solution for me. So rather than put a buy or die, she had a really cool thing right here where you can click on the area of the body that hurts, and you can get information on how this product will solve the problem for a wrist or a hand or an elbow, you know, or a shoulder. So what I recommended was take this off this page and then change this button to see how this can solve any pain in your body. And then they opt in for it. They go to the landing page or the thank you page, and now they've got this. And this could have a video on it that shows how this product works. And it could show them that it works for any part of the body. They can now click on that part of the body, and it could pop up a little window that tells them the information about that. You know, it's providing a user experience that educates them. It's not a, here's the product, buy it. That's a buy or die scenario. And that's the first experience that you get when you land here. It's here's the thing with a mediocre promise, no unique delivery mechanism, and buy or die. It's take it or leave it. That user experience is not stellar. So the idea here for your websites, and again, this is creation mode. Whenever you're in building websites, landing pages, marketing messages, you're in creation. So you want to go back and lean on to your analysis to figure out what is it that they want, why do they want it, and that's where your promise comes in. Your unique delivery mechanism is the thing about yours that's unique, you know, and you want to make sure that you don't use something that everyone else is using, because if they search it, like let's say you say, you know, our diet pill has Garcinia Cambogia in it, and then they search that and they find out, well, there's 10 pills on the market that have the same thing. So now it's just a price war. So you want to make sure that when they search your unique mechanism, all roads lead to you. Very important. So let's see, let's go on down the page. You know, there's nothing technically wrong with this site. This site is beautiful. You know, it shows the product, it's colorful, it's, you know, it operates perfectly. It's just the marketing message. That's the part where the user experience. The other thing about this, if they don't buy it and they leave, you just lost the game, because the chances of them ever coming back and finding this site again, it's pretty remote. But if you entice them with your big idea enough to opt in to get more information, or get what's called, we call it a lead magnet. It's something that you give away for free. They just have to put their name and email address in to get it. You have that right here. You know, download our free, you know, body finder to show you how any part of the body can be fixed, you know, or whatever your messaging is. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out. It may or may not make sense, but you plug in what makes sense. So download our free PDF or our free guide or whatever it happens to be. They click on that. You don't put the name and email address here so they visibly see it. You just put download it now or get the free thing. What that is, it's called a micro commitment. All they have to decide is, do I want it? They don't have to decide if they want to share their information yet. If you put that ahead, now you just threw an objection in the way. You just threw a speed bump in the process. You want micro commitments. It's kind of like dating. You don't go in and ask for the marriage proposal on the first encounter. That's what this is. Buy or die is, hey, we just met, let's get married. She's going to think you're a freak, and if she says yes, you better watch out. This is not a match made in heaven. So, in your first encounter, a small commitment is going to get better results than a big commitment. So for instance, if you asked her, hey, would you like to go out on a date? I'll pick you up at 8. She's got a lot of things to consider there. Like, do I want to get in this guy's car? Do I want to be held hostage till he brings me home? Do I really want to have dinner with this guy? There's a lot of decisions going on there. If he would have changed his approach and say, hey, I'd like to get to know you a little bit. How about we meet at Starbucks and just have a cup of coffee? That's a micro commitment. She knows if she gets there and it doesn't go bad, she gets in her car and she leaves. Minimal commitment. So when you ask them, hey, free thing here, download it for free, that's a minimum micro commitment. You're going to get better results. You're going to get more people to nod their head and say, yeah, I'll do that. Then they click on it and you say, great, where do I send it? And then they've already made the commitment that they want it. They've already answered that question and they're moving forward. You have forward motion now. So are you guys hearing me or did I stall out?
I'm hearing you beautifully, and that's exactly what I need to learn.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share. So I think we have a bandwidth issue. But anyway, that forward motion, you've got momentum now. Then they'll put their name and their email address, and now you can follow up. You just extended the game. If you don't extend the game, you'll never win. So it's very important that you are able to keep the game alive until you win. If it goes game over, that's game over. And that's where yourself in a scenario of buy or die. I'm ready to end the game right now. Win or lose. You're going to lose. So you
John,
extend your chances of winning by micro commitments. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I wanted to go through that. I know we talked probably longer the other.
Well,
John ran out of bandwidth. He'll be back.
Lost John. Jeffrey. Another Zoom glitch. Blessings, everyone.
Yeah, John is on his probably his Starlink, and it works great until it doesn't.
Here he comes.
Well, I keep getting kicked out on you guys here. Sorry about that. It made me download a new version of Zoom before I got on the call. Maybe they got some glitches in this thing. But anyway, that I know we had talked a little longer the other day, but did I cover everything that you needed on there?
Yes, you sure did. And I'm just now modifying the whole website. It's going to be changed radically thanks to you.
All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm happy to help.
What I really loved was the fact that with people's names and emails, you can follow up on them.
Yeah.
And get their opinion and the reason they want and so on and so forth, which is essentially helping me create the avatars.
Yeah.
And
You know,
the other thing you said was that the avatars were essentially the pain areas, not necessarily the people.
correct. Yes.
And that was important to me.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've seen this, a follow-up campaign that was similar to yours, and a great follow-up campaign for you was like, if you know it was their elbow, they click on the elbow, so you tag them for that, and you know they have elbow pain. You could follow up with an email once a week, says, does your elbow still hurt? Does your elbow still hurt? And you're just, you know, it's like you're poking them with a pen, reminding them of their problem. And then eventually they're going to buy. You know, in sales, they say it takes a certain amount of touches before you get to a sale.
Yeah.
And if you're only making one touch and it's buy or die, you're not going to win that game. You're not going to be very effective at playing. Yeah, I don't play games that I can't win. So I need to know the mechanics of this because I want to win. And I know, hey, if I need to touch them 7 times, I got a program called Kartra that'll automate that. I just plug in the sequence once and it'll work forever for me. So it's pretty cool process. All right, let's go to Karen. I see you got your hand up.
Okay, Mike. I wonder, is it okay on a website to put more than one call to action? For example, download and give away a freebie, or a click to place an order, or a click to be invited to a podcast, or a click to schedule an appointment?
Yes, on your website should basically serve everyone. But on your above the fold, what you want to try and do there is you want to try and either bring on your big idea, or if you've got multiple avatars, like we have somebody in the group that they do products for cats and for dogs. Now, a cat lover doesn't necessarily love dogs, and a dog lover doesn't necessarily love cats, right? In fact, they might repel. You know, the dog lover might go, oh, cats, oh, yeah, no way. So you don't want to mix your messaging. And if that's the case, and you have a distinct break, your above the fold should be 2 buttons. I'm a cat lover, I'm a dog lover. When they click on I'm a dog lover, they go to the dog section of the website, and cats are not mentioned or portrayed in any way, shape, or form. So, you know, and it's just like realtors, you know, buy and sell. Because if you have your messaging for a buyer is going to be get the best value, spend the least amount of money and get the biggest house, right? That's going to be your messaging. That's what's going to be important to them. The seller, when he sees that, he's going to say, that's not the realtor for me. I want max value. I want multiple bids above market, you know, for my house. So all of a sudden now, if you have that messaging and your buyer sees that, he's like, oh, hell no, I want a good deal. So what you've done is you've taken all of your prospects and you've pushed them all off a cliff, one on each side. You got nobody following you. You've destroyed every chance you possibly had to get a customer. So that's where segmentation of your website or on your website, if you have multiple avatars, you need to get them to the right language as quickly as possible. Don't try and serve everyone in one shot. But if you've got multiple things that could help them, you know, if you say you've got a single avatar website and you've got multiple things, the more things you offer, the more chance you're going to have to get them, to get that hook sunk in. So not a problem. But when you move them, let's say they click on something that they've shown an interest in. Now remove all the distractions. Those are called landing pages. In a landing page, you have a single focus, and the single focus is to drive them through your process to sell a product or to get an outcome. The outcome might just be to get them to opt in, get them on your list. If that's your outcome, that's your desired outcome, don't give them any options. Say, here's the thing, here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what I want you to do. Click the button, download the free thing, and start the process, get the result. So it's like you're engineering a mousetrap here. So you have to take
The landing page has one call to action.
Yes, a landing page has one call to action, whatever it is that you want them to do. Don't distract them.
Thank you.
All right, cool. So I had another one. I don't know, are the Catio and Doggio people on here on the call right now?
Yeah, we're here, John.
Okay, cool. You want me to take a look through your site? I got your site up.
Yep, go for it.
All right, let me share screen here, because you were one of the ones I was gonna pick on today. Not to say I'm gonna pick on you, but
pick away. We want you to.
all right. So here's the one I was kind of describing. You got the cat lover and the dog lover. They're very different people. In some cases, you might have somebody that loves both. They just love any animal that comes along the way. But I've found in a lot of cases that's not the way it goes down. So I'm just going to refresh this page, and you notice it wasn't scrolling there to begin with, but here, it's like, oh, what was I just looking at? It disappeared. I went from a cat, now a dog. I'm reading this. Okay, details. It's gone. It's like you've put a moving target up here in front of me. It's like a circus going on. It's hard. This is not a good user experience. This should have cat and dog, just like you've got here. You've got the Catio and the Doggio. Those should really be your buttons down here instead of this slider. I know website developers and designers love these sliders. Every time I see a slider, it makes me want to throw up. It's like, why would you do that to your customers? They just start to get in to consume the message, and then boom, you took it away from them. Now they got to figure out, oh, can I click over here and I get it back, and it's back for the same amount of seconds. Oh, this one's going to stick. So that's good. At least that part's good. Most of them, you put it back and then it just moves again. But the whole point here is segmentation. You have two very clear lines of segmentation here, the cats and the dogs. The other thing that you need to do is you need to figure out of what is the biggest thing that drives a dog lover and the biggest thing that drives a cat lover, that you provide a solution to that problem. Like for the, like let's go to the dog bowl. Okay. Dog bowls are a dime a dozen. I know this is an elevated dog bowl, but what is the benefit of that? Because here, all we see is what it is. That's a feature. It's an elevated dog bowl. It attaches to the wall. We're talking about what it is. Nobody cares what it is. How does this help my dog? How does this help me? That's what you should be focused on here. And that is going to be why someone wants it. You had asked me the question the other day of, we got this great product. Why is it not flying off the shelf? It's probably in the communication piece. Obviously, the market is there. There is no dispute. I have no doubt whatsoever that the dog market is big enough to justify your sales goals here. That I don't think is your problem. Your problem could be in some of the analysis not being done to figure out, why does somebody want this? What is the problem it solves? Why do they want it? What's it going to do for them? So what you want to learn to do when you're talking about your products or your services is kind of throw the features out the window. It's like the reason I don't talk about myself a lot. I see a lot of these marketers, they come up and they start, talking about themselves, and they can go on for 20 or 30 minutes talking about themselves. Nobody cares. They don't care about the thing. All they care about is what the thing does. Like with me, somebody would only care about me when they find out what I can do for them. Right? That's what will make them care. So why are they going to care about the dog bowl? They have to know what it's going to do for them, or they're not going to care. The more you can convey that, the more you're going to sell. That's how you get the stuff to fly off the shelves. There was a guy, I don't remember his name, but he was one of the guys that was behind the first infomercials. And he was brilliant at interviewing the people. He would bring them on the show, and they would do this, almost like the Ginsu knife thing. And they would have the inventor of the product there, and he would do the interview. And he was so good at directing them to get the answers he needed to sell the crap out of their products. And he followed a formula that was asking the same question over and over and over until there was no answer left. And the formula was called WizGat. That was his formula, WizGat. What WizGat stands for is, what is so good about that? So he would ask them, why is this a better bowl? They would say, because it's round. What's so good about that? And they would have to answer, why is that important? Like with this, it's elevated. What's so good about that? The dog doesn't have to stress his neck to lean over. What's so good about that? The dog's going to live longer. What's so good about that? I love this dog. I want him to live forever. When you answer what's so good about that enough times to where there's no answers left, you will have figured out how to communicate your message. And that's what you need to do in an instant. You need to get to that thing that's the most important about what your product does to make your promise to grab their attention. And if you do that with both the cats and the dogs, I think you'll move from this scenario of, okay, the stuff's not flying off the shelves, to, if the stuff's not flying off the shelves, then it's a traffic problem. Right now, you're in a messaging problem. That's where you are. It's not a traffic problem. You might have a traffic problem too, but that's not the real issue. Traffic is only a magnifying glass. Traffic is going to magnify anything you've got. So if you've got problems, you don't want traffic because it's going to magnify them. You want to figure this out first before you go to traffic. Because if you have a sales system that communicates your value and you got that figured out and it's going to convert, what traffic is going to do is magnify that. That's what you want. You don't want to magnify a disaster. You want to magnify your success. So figuring out how to communicate the value will be job number one. So that would just be, and I didn't even scroll the site. I'm just talking about above the fold here. You should segment this, cats and dogs. And if you've got more than just the bowls, you might figure out on how, figure out the messaging of what is most important to a dog lover. And it's probably going to be in a long, happy life. So how to our products enhance your dog's
well, actually, John, our tagline is elevate your pet's life. Meaning,
there you go.
Double entendre. Literally, all our products are elevated off the floor to save space, but at the same time, increasing the quality of your pet's life and yours as a byproduct.
Yeah, absolutely. So that, I don't see that conveyed here.
It should be right at the top. It should say elevate your pet's life at the very top, if I'm not mistaken, but
floating pet bowls.
Let me go to the site real quick. Yeah, if you
let's refresh.
Right underneath where you are, it says elevate your pet's life. Right there, boom, right underneath.
Okay, so what that is, that
Put it at the top.
it's
very
yeah,
top.
it's below the fold, but then you have to elaborate on this of what does that mean? Because they're not all of a sudden going to equate that. You have to be very specific. This is going to make your dog live longer.
Well, the funny thing is we're working on our Amazon store now, not to start working on Chewy, but that is exactly what you just said is precisely what we're doing. Cat, dog, elevate your pet's life. Here's why, here's what our products do. So
yeah.
I think we've already taken your advice from our call the other day, and we're actually going to have, we already have it mocked up. We just need to update the index page where it's just the Catio. Just like you said, the slider might move to the bottom if we keep it, but Catio Doggia with the cats coming out of each mascot's head, and then basically the tree brings you to the cats or dogs. But honestly, most people have the makeup, and this is almost on the entire planet, not just the US, is 2 cats and a dog. So the majority of people that have dogs, almost all of them, a lot of them have cats too.
Okay. And that might be, here's a thought. The household might have the 2 cats and a dog, right? But what you're interested in is the buyer, the product buyer. Like, let's say, and I don't know that this is true, I'm just being devil's advocate here.
It's almost all female.
Okay.
If that's
So let's say that it's the female is your customer, right? You're trying to communicate to the customer. And the household has 2 cats and a dog, but she's the cat lover. She's only got the dog because he wanted the dog.
Right.
So again, you can see how the messaging might change there. So she's going to come in and see the cat, click on the cat, and boom, now we're talking cat. That's why it's so important to segment. Right. And with this, you're letting the customer self-segment themselves. You're not telling them what's important. You're allowing them to make that choice.
Right. Giving them an optional landing page in essence.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So this is great. I mean, this should be, up at the top. You need to kind of elaborate on this and get more specific. Like, is it going to make the dog live?
If you go to the product detail pages, it literally, we bullet that out and say, this is why having elevated bowls. I mean, we use it for our own cats, and it is the best thing for people to do, even if they don't know it. And that's the message we try to convey, is that, this is why you need these bowls instead of putting them on the floor. Yeah. Besides being space saving and not kicking them and makes cleaning easier. And we have robot vacuums that will knock the food and water everywhere, so they have to be up off the ground. So a lot of different reasons, solves a lot of problems basically.
Yeah. So that what I would recommend, once again, is the self-segmentation. Let them self-segment, and then offer them something. Offer them, instead of again going to a buy or die scenario, either buy or bowl or not, go to something where you're going to give them some information for free to find out how to extend your dog's life by 2 years. Find out how to lower your vet bills. Because if your dog's constantly hunched over, it's going to get arthritis. It's going to cost you on average $3,000 over the life of your dog. Right? So it's either going to be about money or keeping this animal healthy and happy. And, because it's usually an animal is the joy of the owner's life, right? They like their animals more than they like their kids in some cases. And so you need to speak that language. So again, it's just, this is just messaging. Definitely not a market problem here. It's pure messaging. All right, Leslie,
Real quick, I know this is going too long. You mentioned to make a promise. And so I've been told in my massage business, do promise. Don't promise I'll take your pain away, because you don't know. So could you say, I promise to take your pain away, and then parentheses pending certain medical conditions, or I mean.
Well, in this scenario, I'm gonna mute everybody here so we can get rid of that. You can unmute again, Leslie. So in this scenario, when you're talking about industries that have compliance, like the health industry is very sticky about what you can say as far as a cure. You can't talk about cures. You can get in a lot of trouble with that. So, you have to figure out how you dance around that. There's a few different industries like insurance, any kind of financial, any kind of health. There's, you got Big Brother listening, and you can get in trouble for making false claims. Even if they're not false claims, they are going to say they are, and they're going to hold that against you. So you do have to be careful what you claim, but you can talk about outcome. You can talk about, healthier life or a pain-free life, what that means, all that kind of stuff. You can probably get away with that, but you can't say, I have the cure for any clinical disease or any kind of condition. That one you got to be very, very careful with.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody else before we wrap up? This was a great session. We covered a lot of stuff here, and hopefully I got you guys what you need for the week so you can get through. I really encourage you to go back through the training. I recommended somebody go through the Big Idea training, and I haven't seen it. Honestly, I have not looked at that video in probably 3 or 4 years. I sat down with them and we watched it. I think it's only probably 12 to 15 minutes. And I was like, my God, that is I couldn't deliver that content any better than I did in that video. It's like on the calls here, I can give you pieces of it, but in the video, it's so precise of the elements and how to do all this stuff. I really recommend that you go through there and then come on the call here and then ask the specific questions of how to hone that in for you.
My internet crashed over here too, so I guess we're sharing the same connection, John.
Oh yeah, it might be the version of Zoom.
I thought it was you. Well, it's funny you said that earlier about it updating. It updated yesterday, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's very strange, but everything was off for a second.
Yeah, because I know when I came on today, I was almost, well, I wasn't late, but I was almost late for the call because it was updating and updating and updating. It wouldn't let me in.
Yeah,
so it might be a glitchy version of the new Zoom.
It keeps crashing on me too, John. So, and that's never happened.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, we keep getting a little notification saying that it's disconnected, even though we're still here. So yeah, there's obviously some kind of bug in the update.
The cool thing is the recording is still going because I'm recording to the cloud, so we should have a good recording on the whole thing.
That's good because I missed some, but thank you for the review. And like I said, we're already making changes. We just need to get them up
cool
as soon as we can.
Good stuff. But yeah, I was just saying you're definitely, your issue is all about messaging right now.
That's what we need to hear.
Yeah, you figure
we need the tough love.
You get that messaging dialed in, and then you're going to experience that flying off the shelves thing.
Yeah, we've got a decent amount of traffic already, and today we had a call with a friend of ours that wants to help with SEO and bring us even more traffic. So we just, like I said, solve that message, which seems to be the key, and then just keep driving that traffic in.
Yep, absolutely. That's the way to do it. You're very, very welcome. All right. And anybody else that, if you want me to review stuff, Send it to me like a couple days before the call so I can take a look at it and be up to speed on it. So, but I'm happy to do that. Anything you guys need. If you come up with big ideas or you come up with messaging or whatever, this is the place to get it fine-tuned.
Hey, John, can I just compliment you? I would trust that you could sell ice cubes in the South Pole. So you're really good.
I wasn't always good at this game. This really is, it's a game. That's all it is. And I wasn't that good at it to begin with. Like going back when I first started, in business, I leaned on my brother a lot. We would always partner because he was a salesman. That guy, he could sell anything to anybody, and I could always do the work. So our relationship growing up was, if you can sell it, I can build it. And he sold all kinds of stuff and I built all kinds of stuff. So I've been in a lot of different industries over the years. But it wasn't until we kind of split ways and I was like, oh my God, this whole business thing is a lot harder if you have to sell the stuff. So I learned how to do it. And it was all, I didn't go through school for any of this. I learned everything I know by observation. Everything I know about this, I just observed the best in the business doing it and was able to extract of, okay, what are they doing? Why did that work? I am all about like the how and the why of everything. So when I look at what they do and the outcome, I'm always like in my head trying to break down, what was it about that worked and why, is it repeatable? And if it's repeatable, it's like, okay, now I just learned something. So that's what the whole ACT program is all about. It's basically my observation of how ad agencies work and the process that they use. And I'm telling you, it works every time. When they run this process, it works. And every time I've ever seen a business that struggled, it was because they were out of sequence in one of the segments, one of the processes. And you can kind of put them into three buckets. It's the market, understanding the market. That's one bucket. Your avatar creation, your analysis, looking at the competitors, getting a really good understanding of what that market is. That's one place where you're going to find issues. If you conquer that, messaging is next. How do you take what you just learned about the market, and how do you communicate the value of what you have to that market? Right? That's your second bucket where you're going to find problems. And if you figure that out, let's say you know the market inside out, you've created effective communication, you've built your mousetrap and it works, you've tested it. When you send somebody through that's the right person, it turns into a sale. So you've got bucket 1 and bucket 2 conquered. Now you're talking about the third bucket, which is traffic. That's that magnifier. When you have something that converts customers and you can send prospects to this thing and it converts them to customers, now you have a machine. And that traffic is just going to magnify those results. So if you've got the first two and you're still struggling, you probably don't have a good traffic source. You're not getting that message in front of the right eyeballs. So from a marketing perspective, that's where I see 99.9% of issues that will make a business struggle. And that's, every piece of that is all covered in the ACT program. So, and it's right out of my observation of how the ad agencies do their magic. So you all have the magic at your fingertips. You just gotta, and like I said, I wasn't good at this to begin with. I'm pretty good at it now because I learned it. I honed the skill and put this thing together to help you guys do the same thing. And I'm here. You get to take me home with you and answer your questions anytime you want. So All right. That was about all I got for you for this week. So hopefully you guys have a great week, and we'll be back next week, same time. So until then, go through the lessons, learn the thing, hone your skills, and I'm here to help. So have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, absolutely.